I need to record, edit, and upload this video today. Will I be able to do it? I have no idea. Let's see if I can keep this like really nice and concise, but you and I both know that's not gonna happen. Hello people of the world and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're here for the first time. My name is Miss. I'm a writer, I'm a reader, I'm a science fiction and fantasy junkie. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go ahead and hit subscribe. I'm gonna wait. Are you done? Are you done? I think you should be done by now. So today I'm gonna go ahead and review this Netflix original series called Fate, the Winx Saga. Now let me tell you a story about a little 8-year-old girl. And I can already see that I'm meandering, but like bear with me. She was really into fairies. She was like super girly and Winx Club was her favorite show. That little girl is me. That little girl grew up into a strong, independent 22-year-old woman, and she decided to rewatch Winx Club. Like last year, I did that. I rewatched Winx Club season 1, and I still enjoyed it. What I'm trying to say is that Winx Club has been one of my favorite shows growing up, one that like has pretty much defined me all my childhood. Even now, in adulthood, in like early adulthood, I still love it a lot, and the enjoyment factor has not diminished for me because, as I said, I watched season 1 around a year ago, and I keep watching the transformations like all the seasons in my free time. Even today, I do that because that's who I am as a person. So when Netflix announced that they're gonna have like a live action remake of the Winx Club, initially I was excited because who isn't excited at that news? But then 5 minutes later I realized that this is gonna be a train wreck. The moment I read the word dark mature, okay, because we both know, hopefully, what Netflix tends to do with these dark and realistic adaptations. We've seen it happen to the Archie comics in Riverdale. We've seen this happen in Sabrina. Now here's the thing, I really enjoyed Sabrina, at least the first season, but it wasn't unsalvageable because Sabrina could do with that over-the-top style because it was a fantasy and it was like a dark fantasy, and somehow they made it work. It wasn't a brilliant thing. There was still like 101 things wrong with that entire series, and I discontinued watching it, but it worked for the style that they were going for, worked for the story that they went for. Similarly, Riverdale season 1 was cheesy, but the mystery aspect sort of held up, so it wasn't that bad. After that, it just completely went off the rails. Thing about Winx Club, Winx, the Fate, the Winx Saga, yeah, Fate, the Winx Saga, because I refuse to call it the Winx Club. It should just be Fate the Saga. Winx should just not feature in that title. The thing about the Winx Fate Saga is that I did not watch beyond episode 1. Now here's the thing about me. When I start a show, I usually end at least that season that I'm watching because I want to give it a fair shot. But this show was clearly a waste of time and I could see it. It's not like I don't have free time. I actually have a lot of free time at the moment, but I still did not want to torture myself because of how strongly I feel for Winx Club. I don't feel that strongly for Archie. I did not feel that strongly for Sabrina. I could sit and watch even some of the crappy seasons because guilty pleasure. But I just could not make myself watch beyond the first episode of Winx the Fate, the Winx Saga. I just could not. There are so many things wrong with the show. A lot of them have been highlighted even before the episodes were aired. For example, the lack of diversity in the main cast, because Winx Club was famous for how diverse it was. And for a time when we were all like, we were all spoon-fed that fair and like white is amazing, it gave us a diverse cast of characters to kind of root for. As a kid who grew up in like a very colorist society, I was very attracted to white skin, but in Winx Club, my favorite character was Flora because I loved the color pink and she was just so kind and so sweet, and like she had flowers going on for herself. that entire concept was completely train wrecked in this live action adaptation. We have one person of color in the whole cast, and that is Aisha. There are a lot of problems with this show, and we are going to dive into them in a bit, but not before we talk about Flora. As I said, Flora was my absolute favorite character. I wanted to dress up as Flora on my birthday, but it ended up not happening. Not this birthday, like a childhood birthday. I loved her. I don't know why I did. It was probably just the color pink, but I did. Then there is no Flora in the show, and the person who's supposed to be Flora is whitewashed, and they completely changed the character and called her Terra, and Flora is just like not there in this universe. She is there in this universe. She's apparently, Terra has a cousin named Flora, as we find out in the first episode, but I doubt she is not white. Either way, there is no Flora in the Winx Club, and that is highly disappointing, especially as somebody whose favorite character was Flora. And we need to get on with the review. So let us start with the review of Season 1, Episode 1 of The Winx, The Fate, The Saga. This is more of like a reaction because on my notes, I just kind of wrote down my reaction to every scene. And I seem to be pissed in my notes, like really pissed. So let's just start with the first one. Let us talk about the opening scene, which was such a cliche. We all know that one fantasy opening scene in which a random character who will never be mentioned again dies because you want to establish the threat at the beginning of the show. It's just a cliche. I've seen it so many times. Oh god, it's so old, and I guess that they were trying to make it like a Game of Thrones-esque beginning, but they just did not have that to pull it off the way Game of Thrones did. All right, you didn't do it. You couldn't do it. Character work in general in this show is just really bad. So from the dead guy with his sheep scene, we directly go into Althea. First of all, Althea looks terrible because Althea is supposed to look like this, and in the show it looks like this. It looks like this dark academia version of Winx Club, which just doesn't work because Winx Club is not supposed to be dark academia. It's supposed to be light academia. It's supposed to be sparkly academia. But I understand if they have trouble adapting that to like live action, which is exactly why a live action of Winx Club is like a bad idea. Winx Club is supposed to be a colorful, magical, glittery, sparkly, girly, magical girl show. And to try to adapt that into like a dark, gritty, realistic take on the whole thing is just a bad idea, because if I had to kind of boil it down to what Winx Club was about, it was about girl power, it was about friendship, it was about fashion, it was about glitter, it was about like badass adventures. These 5 things kind of formed the crux of the show, and if you take away one of them, actually they took away all of them, but let's just stick to like, let's just pretend that they only took away the glitters and the sparkles for 1 second. You're taking away a big thing that made this show appealing to us in the first place. You understand what you're doing? And then they kind of went ahead and also took away a lot of the other aspects as well. So the show feels hollow. Like, that is the best way I can describe it. It feels super hollow with super bad character work. We immediately meet Bloom, who is played by this woman. And I don't know whether it was the acting or the direction, but almost every single character, Bloom especially, comes across as super cardboard cutouty and like just not being able to act. They're so rigid in their acting, and just it doesn't feel like they truly understand their characters, and they're just not able to express their characters well. In comes Sky. And here's the thing, I really love the love stories in the original Winx Club. I think that they were iconic as hell. And they really kind of explored all kinds of relationships with this like super nice, super dreamy fairy tale like with Sky and Bloom, with a kind of a rich girl, not that rich guy dynamic with Brandon and Stella, which was super awesome to watch. Then Musa and Riven kind of explored a toxic relationship as far as I remember. And then there was Tekna and Timmy. Oh, Tekna isn't here. Tekna isn't in this show. Anyway, let's not go that route, otherwise I'm just gonna like flip. Tekna and Timmy explored like this cute, adorable, almost high school, middle school romance because both of them were so socially awkward, and then they kind of grew. Point is, the love stories were iconic, and then here Sky walks up, flirts with Bloom very clearly, and then they talk about mansplaining, which was weird, and he just talks to her, right? And then Stella apparently was once dating Sky, which is weird for me to say because I wanted to say Brandon so bad. She was dating Sky, and now she is pissed because he spoke to Bloom. Speaking of Stella, Stella is a stone cold in this show. Now here's the thing, she was supposed to be a brat in the original Winx Club, but she was supposed to be a brat with a heart of gold who kind of learns to be better, and she sticks up for her friends, okay? Like, that girl was unapologetically herself, and she just learns to be so much better. She was just so likable. She was likable enough that little girls wanted to be Stella, but I doubt anybody wants to be this Stella. She sucks, okay? She is so bad. First of all, Stella, honey, what is wrong with your dress? Oh my god, remember how I spoke about one other core aspect of Winx Club was just the fashion? Because let's face it, little girls love good clothes, right? We want to look good. We're happy about it. It took away glitter and color and fashion. So now like we are hinging on the 3 core aspects, which also they like completely missed the mark on. I don't know what this is, but it's something. There's this scene where Stella is like getting dressed for like the party at night, and she's just like in front of the mirror trying on her clothes, and everybody's like, you're gonna change? We thought this was a casual event. And she just goes like, yeah, but people expect me to dress up and like look amazing. The irony is that neither the dress that she's wearing right now nor the dress that she's trying out is good. They both look hideous, alright? And here's the thing, if that is your taste in fashion, if this is how you like to dress, good for you. Good for you. But this is supposed to be an adaptation, right? This is supposed to be Stella, and she's supposed to not dress like that. Trust me, she would never. The original Stella would be so to this new Stella about her dress. Yeah, that would be fun to watch because that Stella had no filters, right? So she would say whatever she wanted to say, and I don't think this Stella would be able to keep up because this Stella is just like a mean girl. She's not smart, she's not quick thinking, she's just a mean girl, and she's just like this cliche trope instead of the actual Stella who had like multiple layers to her and who loved her friends and who loved Brandon so dearly. This Stella is just like a cardboard cutout. Of course, I love how they instantly begin the show with like massive info dumps instead of like showing us stuff. There's this scene with the principal where Bloom just goes like, no wings? That's a bummer. Yeah, that's a bummer for me as well. There's not gonna be any wings in this show. But then I also watched the transformation sequence on YouTube. So apparently there are wings in this show, but they're bad, and the transformation sequence is just so bad. Oh god, it is so bad. And now you see what I meant by Winx Club was just a bad idea to adapt into like a live action remake. How are you supposed to have that transformation which we are all hoping for with like in a live action? You cannot possibly do that. By mentioning no wings, they kind of just dropped the entire ball in the first 5 minutes. Like they did not even catch the ball. The ball just went like. Also, they mentioned Tinkerbell and something about like Bloom says something about Tinkerbell, and then the principal goes like, oh, a Tink was an air fairy. No, Tinkerbell was a Tinker fairy. Do not school me on fairies. I've grown up on that shit. And of course, then Bloom starts school and they kind of drop us into this world, and things are just like trying to happen. I won't even say that they're happening. Things are trying to happen with us having zero investment in any of the characters because, again, I don't know if it was about the direction or the acting, but the acting was bad. The characters did not feel real. Story is looking bad so far, so we have zero emotional investment in any of these characters. Then there's a scene where Bloom is talking to her parents and she says something like, 5 girls are living together in this dorm and it's only a matter of time until we descend into a Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Flies type of situation. And her father goes like, Lady of the Flies. Bloom, don't be sexist. Like, uncle, you want like a cookie for all that wokeness that you just shat upon us? I mean, this was the second time the show tried to be woke with Sky saying the mansplaining in the first scene, and then now her father going like Lady of the Flies. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Just call it Lord of the Flies. And also, I'm going to talk about this later as well, but when a show tries too hard to be woke, it loses immersion, and then I don't think that the message is ever like put across. I mean, I think Winx Saga was like a feminism icon because it just gave girls like so many amazing characters, so many adventures, so many strong characters to look up to. You don't need to stuff wokeness inside it and go like, yeah, look at us, we are feminists because we say Lady of the Flies. Look, I would much rather have you show us the girl power than say that we have girl power, right? I want you to be as thorough with your messaging, like with your themes. Go ahead, go for it. I want it. But if you're sacrificing your story just to kind of shoehorn these things in, then it just won't be a good show. And if it's not a good show, then no one's gonna watch it. And if no one's gonna watch it, all your attempts at being woke just futile, because no one is watching your attempts at being woke. So don't do this. I hate it when shows and movies do this. Let us talk about Flora. Terra. First of all, she's not supposed to exist. It's actually great that they tried to attempt at some kind of diversity and body representation when it comes to Terra. But then they dropped the ball again because they made her a walking, talking stereotype. She's like the awkward, bumbling one as the only fat character in the whole show. And then she goes on to actually stereotype herself in a scene because she's pissed and she's just like, oh, you think that like I'm not worth anything because of the way I am like awkward and like I'm funny and whatever. And then she goes like full like killer mode and tries to strangle Riven because she's pissed. So that was just a really messed up scene, and I think they really turned her character into like a caricature instead of giving her any kind of emotional depth, which they could have. I mean, they could have cast a plus size Latina for this role, but they did not. Instead, she was reduced to a caricature of that one plus size friend in every single show ever who is like super awkward and bumbling and not as cool as the rest of the girls. Obviously, she's not supposed to have any other agency. Okay. So Riven is supposed to be like a jerk in the original show, but he is supposed to be an interesting jerk. Like, there were some layers to his character, and despite being a jerk, despite being one of my least favorite characters, in fact my least favorite characters, he was still interesting to follow. I still found his relationship with Musa to be extremely engaging and extremely just interesting to watch, right? But the Riven in this show is a jerk, but he is not interesting. There is not one interesting bone in his whole body. Instead, he's like he's a stoner, and that's it. That's his whole character. He's a stoner and a bit of a sexist, because there's this one scene where Sky and Riven are talking about redheads, and that scene is so cringe. Oh my god. If that guy ends up being a love interest for any of these girls, especially like Musa, and we'll come to Musa in a minute, I'm gonna be so disappointed because this guy is just disappointing. He's not interesting. He's just a jerk for the sake of being a jerk, which is sad. So there's this one scene in which, for the training of the specialists, their kind of drill sergeant is like going, hey, you're here because it is a dangerous world out there. And this one guy laughs, okay? He laughs, and I think he's gonna be Terra's love interest. He laughs for no reason. You are laughing during the training of an institute, during the training of a course that you willingly took part in. Why are you laughing? You are here to be a specialist. Why are you laughing at their job? Because the plot demanded you to. That is why. The entire scene was just bizarre. Like, why is this guy laughing? What this dude is saying is not funny. It's literally he's describing the work of a specialist and why their job is so important and how there are dangers out there which the specialists are supposed to like go up against. And this guy's just like, you're being stupid because those dangers have apparently been killed off years ago. Well. We got a surprise for you. I love how 2 minutes ago, like, everybody is like the burned ones, which are basically like the monster like CGI things. The burned ones are a huge threat. And then 2 minutes later, they're just like, let us ignore the burned ones. They do not exist. Bloom wants to kind of like practice her magic, so she is going out of the barrier and she tells Sky about it, and he's just like, I don't want to mansplain, but it might not be the best idea for you to go out there when just that morning a dead body had been found outside of the barrier. Now, you might not have to be in love with the girl to like give her this piece of information and be like, you know what, it's not about mansplaining if you're trying to save that person's life. She literally has no idea about this magical world. You can help her, right? He just goes like, I don't want to mansplain, but this might not be the best idea. Like, stop being vague. Just tell her that a dead body was found there and let her do whatever she wants with that information. Fine, don't mansplain. Don't tell her to not go outside. I understand that, but don't be vague about your answer when like there is an actual threat out there. She might die. Anyway, she heads out and she practices her magic. She goes like, and like 2 fireballs appear on her hands, and then she loses control because Aisha comes there and like she completely loses control. She starts getting angry at Aisha, irrationally angry at Aisha for no reason. She's angry at Aisha for being there, and Aisha's just like trying to calm her down. She's like, it's all right, calm down. And Bloom is like, no, get away from here. Why are you getting so pissed? I mean, I would understand if you're getting like panicked, but you're getting pissed at Aisha for just being there, which is just stupid. I'm sorry. Basically, they wanted to give her a reason to kind of lose control, and apparently in this world, your magic is controlled by your emotions, so they just made her go batshit crazy, right? Because Aisha was standing there. They just wanted to have like this one cool scene where Bloom, like her fire just comes towards Aisha and Aisha goes like poof, and a wall of water just like comes up. Which brings me to another major issue with this show, which is just bad direction, bad action sequences. The thing about action sequences is that they need to be quick. They need to be like every frame needs to have like some kind of tension. And this show was just shot poorly when it comes to action. That one scene with Aisha with the wall of water could have been really cool with the right cuts and the right camera angles and the right acting and the right direction, but it just felt so bland. It was so disappointing. Like, you would at least want the magic scenes to be cooler, right? They don't give you that. Not in this show. They're like, you can't have it. And then afterwards, Aisha just drops this bomb on Bloom going like, hey, maybe you were switched at birth. Like, girl, be a little more tactful about it, maybe. I mean, this isn't just something, even if you realize it, you just go like, oh, maybe you were switched at birth. Maybe you're a changeling. Just where is your tact, Aisha? And this sucks because in the beginning of the episode, she was actually very tactful and she kind of helped Bloom and like kind of saved her from her parents, like helped her give an excuse to her parents, which showed that she is supposed to be fast thinking and tactful. And then in this scene, she just goes like, oh, maybe your parents aren't your real parents. At least be logical, just be consistent in your characters. That girl from that first scene is not the same girl in this scene. They're just making her stupid for the sake of the plot, because Bloom needed to find out that she's a changeling. So Aisha tells her. What happens to Aisha's character consistency? No one cares. No one gives a shit. It's a dumpster fire. Nobody cares about Aisha, obviously, because who cares about people of color, right? I actually have another issue with that one scene where Tara Loki almost kills Riven, where he goes like, you could have killed me, and she says something like, I missed you too. And I think that's supposed to be like that some kind of comeback, but it's not a comeback. It sounds stupid. It sounds really stupid. Oh my god. And it sounds like such a like they're really trying hard to make her come off as this is my moment. It doesn't happen that way. It just feels really cringe. There's no other way to like describe this. It's just cringe. Let us talk about Stella one more time. She is such a grade A. She got jealous of Bloom because Sky was flirting with Bloom, and apparently now Stella and Sky were a thing. I mean, who cares about the whole rule that we girls like secretly have about like staying away from each other's guys, which is what the Winx Club did. Every girl had their own love story. Nobody looked at the other friends' guys, because that is what girls usually do, you know. Everything is not about a love triangle. Everything doesn't have to be toxic. But in this show, right off the bat, Sky flirts with Bloom, Stella gets jealous. Stella tries to kill Bloom by sending her to a place where she knows a burned one exists. Are we ever gonna like Stella's character? Because I don't think I will. She's just for no reason. And then like the friends find out, Musa, Aisha and Tara find out what Stella has done, and then she goes to Sky and goes like, they kill me, I've done something and they're gonna judge me for it. Yeah, girl, you nearly killed your dorm mate. You're gonna be judged for that at the very least. She's like, can I sleep with you tonight? And he's just like, sure, because he's a wuss. And just, it's so toxic for no reason at all, when the actual show was not toxic in like its love stories at all. It gave us actual amazing love stories to kind of look up to, and they showed us the highs and lows that come in relationships, but they still kept it like non-toxic. And here again, they completely dropped the ball, even on this. Okay, let us talk about Musa for 1 second. First of all, she's not Asian, because as I said, who cares about people of color, right? And also, she's an empath. She was supposed to be the music fairy. She was supposed to be the sonic blast, boom, boom, boom kind of person. Why is she an empath? And in the whole first episode, I did not see anything that made Musa Musa. She does listen to music, but that isn't because she is shown to be a music fairy. I don't know what happens in the later episodes, but is Musa not the music fairy? Because otherwise her name is an issue. Musa comes from music. Did they not make her a music fairy? Please let me know in the comments if she is not a music fairy, because that just completely defeats the whole purpose of her powers. And I don't know what this thing is about being an empath and why they are switching really awesome powers for really generic ones. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? The Fate, the Winx, the Saga, why? There is a flashback in this show, in this episode, where Bloom thinks about like how she nearly set her mom on fire because she got angry, which is a pretty awesome backstory, and it would give her character like some level of depth and like the guilt and whatever she's feeling. It is a good flashback sequence and it adds to Bloom's character, and maybe that could have been the prologue of the show. We did not need that random dude man getting killed. We really did not. But in that flashback, I remember there was something Bloom says, and her mom goes like, don't go all feminism on me. Oh, the word mansplain was mentioned in this episode twice, and the word feminism I think twice or once, I don't know, and then including that Lord of the Flies thing. So 4 weird, cringy scenes. Felt like this show was written by a bunch of 40-year-olds trying to make it look like a bunch of teenagers were trying to write a bunch of 40-year-olds. You get it? This is Inception. I just don't like such heavy-handedness in my stories. That is it. I want you to show me all of that instead of telling me, just slapping me on the face with it. Just show me some actual feminism. Show me some good female friendships. Instead, you made Stella. And finally, there's this dark, intense monologue at the end by, I think, the principal, and they're trying to make it like really intense. They're trying to build up, they're trying to show us that something is coming, and it doesn't work. Instead, it was just like the rest of the show. It was cringy as hell. So that is all I got for you today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into my rant review, just battering the old Fate the Winx Saga, because I absolutely hated the show. I am not going to be continuing it, but if you like it, then that's fine. Like, I don't want to shame you for your taste in the content that you consume, but also, really? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure you want to like that? Are you sure? Are you very sure? If you like this video, go ahead, make sure that you hit the like button, make sure that you subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram for more like content that you won't find here, and you can also follow me on my blog, Myths and Misadventures. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.